Hi, my name is Akul Gupta. Through this podcast series, I'd like to learn more about careers and academic choices and relationship between the two. To do this, I'll be interviewing leaders around the world who have excelled in their chosen field. At the moment, I am interested in learning more about finance and business. Today, I have with me Smita Garg, the Vice President of Risk Management at the American Express India.
I got my undergrad. So after 12th, I got my undergrad from Punjab Engineering College, Chandigarh. Um, and that was back in 1999 to 2003. And immediately, and I got my BTech degree in computer science there. Right? And post that, I went for my MBA in Calcutta, and that was from 2003 to 2005. So post my MBA, I joined Cognizant Technology Solutions for 2 years, wherein I joined the business warehouse and data warehouse and business intelligence department there, doing business analysis and responding to RFPs for the clients. And post that, I joined American Express, which was back in August 2007.
What initially drew you to finance and risk management, and how did your education support that transition?
The education basically gave a base, right? It's not that I studied risk management when I was in college anywhere during my engineering or my MBA. It's just that it gave me the base, it gave me the understanding how to look at business, how to look at numbers, because that was always what I was interested in. And my role was in Amex was always into analytics, right? And risk management was the key area where analytics was being used at that time. So I started off with portfolio analytics, and so I could understand how the portfolio operates, how the business operates, and how can you look at the numbers, how can you operate. That time there was lesser of advanced analytics. It was more we were working in SAS and Excel at that time, so not like Python and all advanced machine learning that is available now. But yes, that's what I could work with very easily. And I think the education really helped because it helped me prepare for the corporate world as to how how hard you need to work, the number of hours you need to devote. I think that is that is what is really that you get out of that education, the grill that you go through, the grilling as part of college. They just prepare you what can come next in your career, and you should be prepared for that. Of course, the courses that you take, those are always important, but um, I I won't say that I have used a lot of numerical analysis or anything that I had learned during that time into my career. So I've just learned on the job what is required. But yes, that basic understanding is required to be there and to be able to make use of it.
Many high school students struggle to choose between technical and business-oriented degrees. So I just want to know, what's your opinion? Would you recommend to get a more STEM-based degree and then switch to like an MBA or a master's in finance, or would you recommend people just go straight for a finance degree and then try to enter the finance industry?
Basically, postgraduate, I think, is definitely something which is required. It's not that you can go ahead just with an undergrad degree. Um, and there are business oriented undergrad degrees also available today, like the BBAs. A lot of people do BBAs plus MBAs, so which give you a base there. Um, for me personally, I feel that you should have one technical degree and then you can top it up with business, because if it is all business, you don't get to learn the basics of at least one area that is core, right? Then it becomes very generalist. In terms of finance, finance is a very interesting field, a good area, and definitely you can do economic honors, you can do commerce, and then take up MBAs. MBA that that makes a lot more sense, because then you get a good understanding of how um, how you need to work through the different aspects, and then yeah, you learn more there, I think.
How did your degrees in computer science and finance complement each other? Because you got one from Peck in computer science and
Yeah.
one from IM in MBA. So how do those two degrees complement each other?
So my MBA from IMC was I did not major in finance. I majored in systems. So so that was actually the continuation because I was coming from a computer science background. I took up courses which were more systems oriented, and so I got into systems major, and then I did a minor in strategy. But I think you have the freedom to choose courses there. So definitely there were courses that I selected in Calcutta, which were beyond systems and which gave me a better understanding of the business, the ops part of it, and then the strategic part of the business. So I think it's, but I never went into core finance. It never intrigue me. And even in my current role, even though I am in finance industry for 17 years, uh, I've never worked on balance sheets or P&Ls. So
Uh,
that's not the area that I've really worked in. It is more into analytics, and analytics can come in many areas, but my area has mostly been related to risk. And even risk is very wide. Risk is also not very limited. Even risk has multiple types. So I've used that analytics across multiple risk types.
Because since a lot of students like my age, when they think of like
Mm.
roles in finance and business, they think of mostly investment banking or accounting or consultancy, but risk management's is like a different role and it's also quite prominent in the financial industry. So like what would you recommend?
Yeah.
And could you explain a little bit about it?
So risk management is a very good area, I would say, to get into because you get to learn what are the risks really that the business is exposed to and how do you manage those risks. It is not possible to actually zero down the risk for any organization. And finance is one industry which is the most regulated industry, which means that there are a lot of regulators across the world. In different countries have different regulators in place. In India, that's RBI. In US, it is the OCC and the FRB, which are the biggest regulators, right? And they keep a very close eye on all the financial banks or all the financial services companies within the markets and keep on coming up with different regulations. It is very important. That's why risk management becomes very important for financial services because they need to comply with those regulations. And since they are very close to customer, finance works directly with the customer, and you handle the customer's money, which is the most important for anybody. If you miss deliveries, if you miss something else, I mean, if I talk about the retail space, risk is less important. But if you talk about finance space, risk is very important because you're handling the customer's money, right? And for American Express, risk is more related to credit cards because Amex is a credit card company primarily, which means you loan out the money to the customers, which they are required to pay you back. So there is a lot of scope of analytics in this because if I talk about credit risk, um, you can actually model how much money can you actually lend to a customer. What is the probability that the customer will return it to you, right? Those are the decisions that you take, and then who do you want to target for your cards? So those kind of decisions are that you take when you are looking at uh, risk management for a financial services company or a credit card company. So, and there are multiple risks. We are talking just about credit risk. There are multiple types of risks. So, operational risk is another one which is prevalent across industries. So, operational risk is something which will be, and that is my current domain. Frankly, I started off with credit risk. My current risk domain is operational risk. Operational risk is a risk which is inherent in a process. So, if a process is not running right as per design, it it has the probability to break down at any point in time, right?
Yeah.
So, and that can be any process, not necessarily related to financial industry, but It's applicable across industries, but that risk is called operational risk.
Would you recommend this field to students looking into finance? Because I'm gonna talk to somebody else who's in risk management later. I already talked to them a little bit, and they told me like risk management is in most companies have risk management like industries, like areas within their company which deals with risk management. So would you recommend this specific field in finance to students, and how would you recommend they break into this field? Like,
I would definitely recommend students to enter this field because there is a lot of scope and there's wide applicability across industries. So it is a good field to get into. And your second part of the question was how, sorry, what was the second part of the question?
so what would you recommend students like to do like educationally wise and like, you know, in general, like what would you recommend students to do to break into this field?
Yes, I think first is understanding of the industry and which industry do you want to get into? Understand where all risk management is prevalent today, where is it important, and it depends on the interest level of the student. What intrigues them? Where do they want to get into? But then do some projects, do some research and some projects related to the area that you are interested in, and then you will get a fairly good idea as to is that a field of your interest or not.
Mhm.
In terms of courses, it is all stats becomes very important. If you want to do modeling, which is a core part of risk management, you should know how to create models and how I mean some statistics courses is something that you should be doing. So that helps you. Economics is important because you can then figure out how things impact each other, how the markets impact each other. Yeah, and then of course the basic analytical skills is what is required.
So you talked about like analytics and economics, but with the
Mhm.
rise of AI and new data analytics, how do you see careers in finance and risk management evolving in the next 5 to 10 years?
Y- Yes, a lot of AI is being used these days in modeling, in strategy everywhere, in servicing as well, Gen AI. But the problem, or I would say, in finance industry, it is still a little limited. The usage of AI is still limited, and that is because finance is very regulated. Regulators are not very fond of AI because it is a black box. It doesn't tell you exactly why a particular outcome has come, what is leading to the outcome. So if you think about the way the modeling was done earlier, we are doing logistic regression, right? For every probability outcome, we knew what is driving that outcome, what reason. Right now, if we look at the models, it is very hard to determine what is driving the outcome. You know that this is the final outcome, and that is what regulators are not very happy about. So even though there is a wide adoption of AI in finance. It is growing, but there are a lot of nuances and a lot of things that you need to keep in mind to make it safe. And you cannot just use AI the same way in finance as opposed to other industries, right? So, which is why the job of the person who is working uh, in in that team or in that area becomes even more important because it is not just about running a model and getting the outcome. It is about understanding the business and understanding what is that could be driving, what is it that could be driving the outcome. Use those variables only, apply um, the weights and the factors specifically for those areas, specifically for those variables that are important, and then make sure that you are not um, you are removing all biases, which also becomes because again because of regulations you cannot have a biased solution, which again AI has been criticized a lot.
How important is coding or data analytics? Would you recommend them to gain some early exposure?
Early means how early?
Like
Mm.
undergrad, maybe just
Definitely.
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe even
Yeah, definitely. I think, yeah, maybe even 11, 12. Yes. So, um, even though AI is coming and you get modules wherein you just put in data and you get the outcome, but I think it is very, very important to understand what is driving it. You should be able to code. Um, and not every organization is dependent. See, when you look at the corporate world, you need to understand that not every company was started 2 years back, right? We are not looking at just startups. It is only those companies who have the models built or their systems set up based on the most recent technology available. For companies which are old, like American Express is 175 years old, right?
yeah.
There are a lot of legacy systems and multiple other companies like this, multiple banks and even other companies. So, in order to get into these companies and um, work in a more efficient manner, it is important that people are comfortable with coding and they're able to understand where is where is the data coming from, how do you really extract that data, how do you analyze that data, and for that you do require coding. It, it takes time to for the larger companies to actually set up their change their processes or technologies as new technology comes in. So I think coding gives you that basic knowledge anyway, and it is not just in risk. I mean, every company has a tech, I would say, we call it business unit, a tech team, right? A tech team within their company. People are doing coding all the time, and which is also a very handsome role. Product management is a very good job in any such company as well.
You mentioned like you were learning a little bit about accountancy. So is there any like specific roles within the financial industry students to look out for and maybe should try for?
Sorry, was your question specific to courses or roles? You said roles in finance, right?
Roles, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, there are. I mean, there are finance teams, and that is also an area which is you have finance teams across all companies. Of course, if you join a financial services firm, the finance team is different as opposed to if you join any other company. But the roles in finance are related to treasury. They're related to um, liquidity, market risk.
Mhm.
So those are the kind of roles that are definitely available. If you look at any MNC, there are interagency transactions, which is again something that is um, just led by finance. So there are large teams in finance, and there is a lot of automation going on even in finance, so that they can automate their solutions. So a lot of tech role as well in finance is what I'm hinting at.
Oh, so you're saying there's a lot of different roles in finance which pe students should look out for other than just biz banking and consulting, like liquidity.
Yes,
Yeah. If you were hiring, what are some aspects you look in potential prospects for roles in risk management?
when I'm hiring, it'll sound funny to you because I'm going to talk less about risk management, but more about the person in general. Because what I look for is the attitude of what you bring in. Um, are you ready to learn? Are you receptive to feedback? And do you take accountability for any work that you are assigned? Do you take ownership? I would rely on your educational degree more to just see that you know the basics.
Yeah.
And if you come in, if you don't know about risk management, if you don't know about finance, you should be able to learn that pretty fast. Um, but then, yes, you should have some experience with data. So that's also something that we would look at. So, what kind of data analytics have you done? How comfortable are you uh, looking at data, deriving insights from it?
Yeah.
And then, yeah. the basic the basic things as to what I talked about earlier. How are you as a person? That depends.
Yes, in person. Okay.
Mm.
My last question. If you were to give one piece of advice to a high school student interested in finance but unsure where to start, what would it be?
One piece of advice would be that if you want to go into finance, get your get your basic understanding of the of the course, right? Look out what are the opportunities available, and there are multiple. Don't stick to a very, I would say, old thought of what really constitutes finance. Look out for how are the finance organizations operating today. The maximum number of startups that you will see today are in the financial space. Right? There are a lot of startups happening. What new is happening in the industry, and where can you add value?
Yeah.
And what is it that you would want to learn about? And then it's not that you need to join the startups, but learn from them and then apply the knowledge. Application of that knowledge is very, very important. And if you can do that uh, easily, and if you can demonstrate that, that is what is required by any firm, actually.
Great. Thank you so much for coming and taking time out of your day to participate in the interview. I very much appreciate it. And I really liked the new insights you gave me into some of these questions. So thank you and bye.
Sure.
Okay, I'm just
Sure.
gonna
Thank you, Akul. It was very nice talking to you.